What is going on, party people in the house? It is Wednesday, January 28th, and we are here. Texas actually did two things. They just got a commitment from a 2027 Edge guy by the name of Cameron Hall. Now, I'm not going to get on here and act like I know everything about Mr. Hall. And then we also know that Texas has gone out and they added an offensive lineman. Kind of one of the things that you and I have been talking about over this week, last week, all these weeks, right? And so they got Lawrence Seymour, and we're going to talk, a little bit about him, and then we'll get into the conversation of let's put Kyle Flood off the hook. We good? Not so much. So we got a lot to discuss. So sit back, relax, and enjoy the ride. Hit the like button, subscribe to the channel if you have not done so. Stephanie, I see Stephanie here in the chat. Stephanie, I saw you yesterday outside shoveling that snow and breaking up ice. I only have one question. Where was your husband? It's a call out. Where was your husband, Stephanie? Was he just chilling inside? Just like, hey, girl, that shovel ain't gonna shovel his snuff. You need to get out there, Steph. You need to get out there. I saw you working. All right, man. All of us ain't able. All of us ain't able. Some of us just want a home cooked meal. I never thought about having my girl go out there and do yard work, but shoot, maybe I need to step up my game. But anyway, let's talk about stepping up games, though. Old girl was really out there. She was like shoveling and everything. I was like, oh, snap. Okay. I know it was you. I saw you. It was your house. I know you did that. All right, let's get into the subject of the conversation, man. Let's get into the cover conversation. Stephanie, do you pump the gas for your man too? Stephanie, man, sitting there in the seat. Stephanie, man, like this, while she's out there pumping the gas at the Chevron. Your man's gonna hate me. Anyway, I'm just messing with both of y'all. Hey, listen, Texas has gone out, and we are at that point. I was talking about it yesterday a little bit, and kind of like we're at that point where Texas just needs to add bodies, right? And that's on the offensive line, specifically on the offensive line. Texas has to add bodies. That just we're just at that point, and we're kind of at that point. We're kind of at. I didn't even talk about your house, Stephanie. I want you being mad at me while I'm going my walk and stuff. We're kind of at that point where Stephanie's like, I draw the line on gas. Okay. Gas is you draw the line, but outside work. Okay. Anyway, we're at the point where Texas just needs bodies on the offensive line, right? I think we kind of gotten to that point, and we can wrap our head around the thought process of, all right, it's probably all the quote unquote elite guys from the Power Four programs. Those guys are kind of off the table. Like for the like anybody you're going to get right now, you're going to kind of have to talk yourself into it. You're going to have to say, all right, maybe this guy can develop into something that's good or special. And so we're kind of at that point. Now, the difference is the guy, when we start talking about Lawrence Seymour, we're not going to be talking about a guy that we would kind of say is a scrub or anything to that effect. The great part about him is that he's actually played in a lot of games, right? And so I think that's what makes him kind of intriguing, but he's from Western Kentucky. And so, we'll have the questions and we'll have to get into, okay, will he be a guy that can step up? We'll see. But at this moment, Texas is quietly, I would say, taking the steps towards fixing the interior offensive line for 2026. So yesterday, and again, we had talked. It's interesting. Timing is always interesting because I had something on Orange Bloods on Tuesday morning, and I was talking about the offensive line and kind of where we are. It's kind of like the word that I was getting the most when I was talking to people was hey, we got to focus on development. Like that's got to be the thing. Like we're still looking at some people, we're still kicking some of the tires, but at the end of the day, we gotta really worry about developing the guys who are on the roster. There's a whole slew of things that came about as relates to that conversation, right? And one of those things is kind of like with the acquisition of Sanani, that can put Brandon Baker on that right guard spot, right? And so they felt like really good on the right side. Already got Connor Robertson, and now it's you already got Trevor Gooseby. You're just trying to find one piece, right? So if you go about it from that perspective, and listen, me communicating what was told to me and 100% co-signing on that, that's two different things, right? But I think Texas is in that situation where they understand, listen, we've got to make the best out of this situation. Like there's no reinforcements, there's no new guys coming into the portal that can help us, right? That thing is gone, that thing is done, right? So you have the pool is the pool. Could we get some help from Indiana or Miami and all that? That's done. That's done. Now it's about going back and saying, okay, the best of what's left. Who would we like to sign? What's a reasonable price? So on and so forth, right? And look, at the end of the day, what Texas has to do as relates to that left guard position, they just got to throw numbers at it. You got to throw numbers at it with the hope that somebody hits. It's just kind of what it is. You've got to throw numbers at it. And if you throw enough, then you got to hope that someone is able to hit. And so it was interesting when I was doing the show with Chad yesterday. It was kind of tough because it was a tough conversation because it was hard to just speculate on who they would or would not get. Just like random people. Like, I don't know. But they've done their own due diligence. They've done their research, and they pick up a guy by the name of Lawrence Seymour from Western Kentucky, who was ranked number 5th in the non-P4 offensive line category by Orange Bloods. That is about as specific could actually get. Now, again, this isn't splashy. It's Western Kentucky, right? Like, so, this is not a splashy thing. He's been in the portal, obviously, for a few weeks, right? So it wasn't like people were just beating down his door and everybody was like, man, we got to have you and anything to that effect. Again, in free agency, typically the elite guys go pretty quickly. Then you have the rest. And now this is kind of some diamond in the rough kind of things, right? No disrespect to Seymour, right? Because he's got a body of work that actually is not too bad for the level that he played on, right? And we'll get into his resume and the things that he's done. But right now, this wasn't chasing the big stars, right? Because those guys are gone. So now it's more about, okay, can you get someone? Again, we got to get into someone put that in the chat. Okay, someone that Kyle Flood can work with and someone that Kyle Flood can coach up, right? So this is more about projection, competition, raising the floor, but it's not about guarantees. This is not okay, again, I use this analogy, right? But this is not the Cam Coleman of the offensive line, right? This is not Hollywood Smothers or Relique Brown of the offensive line. Like, this is a person that could be your starting left guard when it's all said and done. But you also have some guys who are going to be in the mix here as well. And so we'll see what happens with those guys. Now, it's interesting about Lawrence Seymour. He's been at a few different places. Miami, he's at Akron, Western Kentucky, and now here at Texas, right? He's fighting for an extra year of eligibility. If he gets that, then he's here. The odds are pretty good. I don't think Texas, as smart as they are, goes after a guy that they think isn't going to be eligible. Like, you got to do your due diligence. You've got to have your lawyers kind of look at it, right? You're just not hoping and wishing and praying. Like, you don't do this in major college football, right? Now if you're at a small school, with not a ton of resources, and you're trying to get an extra year of eligibility, yeah, there's a lot of hoping, there's a lot of wishing, there's a lot of praying, right? But when you're at a Texas, right, like Dan Capavia, how many years has this dude played, right? But do you really want to mess with them Vanderbilt attorneys? Like, probably not. You know what I'm saying? So that's what gives me the thought process is like, I don't think Texas messes with this guy unless he's really going to be kind of the real deal. Um, you know, it's interesting because he's going to give you a lot of experience here. And someone let me see, I'm gonna put this up. Someone put this up here. Who was it? I saw this yesterday, and I don't like to. I'm gonna put this on the screen. I want to make sure I give her. I think her name is Claudia on X. Let me see. Let me put this up there. But I thought this was a really interesting stat slash observation. I believe she used to go by Claudia. I don't, but I might be wrong. But nonetheless, she put this up here. She put something up there, and I thought it's a really good observation. Now I realize a lot of y'all just tweeting out a bunch of different things to get likes and interactions so you can get paid by X. I realize there's a hustle out there that y'all didn't tell Unc about. I was just thinking, man, I don't want to give these guys money. Like, why I got to pay to be on a service? Then someone's like, you can pay for yourself. I'm like, what are you talking about? Anyway, so I get it. It's really smart though. But now let's say this is your starting offensive line. Let's say you've got Gooseby in year 4 as your left tackle. Let's say you got Seymour at his 6th year as the left guard. You got Connor Robertson at your center. You got Brandon Baker as your right guard, and you've got Siani as your right tackle. Suddenly, we've been having this conversation a lot about, hey, how experience matters in college football. If you're able to do that and have that kind of starting line, suddenly you feel like, okay, you've got some experience. Now, again, you may tell yourself, man, this doesn't check all my boxes, but is it serviceable enough where you would say, okay, we could work with this as a base, and then seeing if there's anybody else that develops going forward. Can this work as a base? I keep saying, like, one of the things that Texas has to make sure, they've got to have an offensive line that's ready for Ohio State in week 2. It's just what it is. They've got to have an offensive line that's ready for Ohio State in week 2, and then a 9-game SEC season, which at some point the SEC will get smart and stop messing around and actually get rid of. So they would tell all their members, we are not scheduling P4 programs as non-conference opponents anymore. But hey, the SEC wants to continue to work harder, not smarter. So be it. Continue to do that, right? But anyway, I thought this was a really interesting observation that I wanted to make sure I shared. But I didn't want to steal. I don't want to steal CV's stuff and not give the appropriate credit there. So in any case, so he was a full-time starting left guard at Western Kentucky in 2025, right? And then the thing that's really cool about him is that he logged 840 snaps all at the left guard position. In fact, the other thing, look, man, there's a lot of people who just made my life easy. There's a lot of people who really, really made my life easy. And I had to bookmark a bunch of things because I'm going to show you a couple of different things. Hold on, I'm going to show you this part on the screen. Wait. Hold on. Share your screen. I'm going to go back to X here. Okay. So this one was a good one as well, because Evan did a lot of research as well, and this was interesting. Evan did this kind of research, and he puts Seymour 2025 Conference USA. We've got the passing grade, the PFF grade overall of 69.4, 63.9 run block grade, 82.6 pass block grade, right? We've got the snaps here, but only one sack allowed, 8 pressures allowed. You got that passing blocking efficiency right there. This is the interesting part about him. 6'2", 320. We're gonna have a conversation about that, because it's not really what you would look at and say to yourself, man, that's exactly the kind of offensive lineman I need. And you're usually thinking about your guard being like that 6'4", 6'5-ish kind of range, maybe 6'6", something to that effect, right? So 6'2", 320, right? But look, you guys are talking Super Bowl and playoffs and all those kind of things. Like, we all saw Poona Ford. We were watching him. And look, Poona Ford was the ultimate in like, okay, he's going to be too small, right? And at the end of the day, Poona Ford ends up being a really, really good NFL player. Now, we don't need him to be a draftable player. That's not our ask of Seymour. That's not what we're asking him. We're just asking him to be a really good college football player. I think people always got to get to the differentiating that stuff, right? Because I know people. Listen, I get sometimes frustrated with the people who do rankings, because they always try to equate successful rankings with the amount of guys who go to the NFL. Do you guys know that less than 2% of college football players go to the NFL? That means like 98% of people who play college football are not going to the NFL. So it's such a narrow way to judge a player, where you should be judging them on like where they are from an all-conference perspective, right? That might be a little bit better. I'm a much better see that metric than anything else. But that is anyway. So given everything, then Evan did this one too. He had this grade out here, and look at now, if this is back to, if this is your starting 5. Well, here's their offensive line, their pass blocking grades, right? And so you got Gooseby at 80. You got Seymour, who would be technically, and I'm assuming this is PFF, to technically be at 82.6, which would be the highest. Now, look, we got to factor in level of competition. That's clearly going to be a factor. He's going to step up a level. So because he's going to step up a level, maybe that number is not as good. But you know what? Maybe it is. Maybe. We got Connor Robertson at the 66.8 spot. Got Brandon Baker, and you got Siani out there. So again, not too bad as far as like, hey, where is Texas starting? And then of course, you've got Seymour from PFF giving them their stuff, by the way. And this is Cody Carpentier. I just bookmark all this stuff. I bookmark so many things. I always go back to stuff because I'm always scrolling and everything. But you got Seymour. You can see where he is from the pass block snaps. He's got 1 sack allowed, 8 pressures allowed, 82.6 pass blocking grade, right? Which I think that was I figured Evan was talking about pass blocking, right? And then let me see if I can show y'all this. This is just, hopefully I don't get a copyright on this. If you're watching this video and at some point you're like, what the hell just happened? If you're watching it on replay, it's because I got a copyright thing. So you can see him kind of classic. with a little bit of a help, and then go ahead and knocking down that edge player. Um, not obviously not too bad there. So anyway, let me take that one out. All right. So we're back. Okay, so Texas does have someone. What again, he's not the conventional SEC build, right? He's not that bus mover. But like I said, the having only one sack allowed in 2 seasons has to count for something. The pass blocking grade has to come for something. And he did play LSU late last season. So he did go against an SEC defensive line. His pass blocking grade against LSU was a 79.9. Okay. So he's no scrub. So we're clear. The dude ain't no scrub, right? So again, he might not be the conventional build, but man, if he is just good and serviceable, that's all you're looking for at this point. That's all you are looking for. Now, the one thing in 2025 that you gotta, there was kind of the weakness was his run blocking, which was graded at a 63.9. So that one that one leaves a lot to be desired. Let's just be honest with you. And again, so that'll go into physicality. Can he displace SEC defensive tackles consistently? Right, that's going to be the thing. So right now, what we know is in pass pro, he looks pretty good. The run game is still developing. Now, this is where a guy like Torrey Becton comes into play. This is where a guy like Torrey Becton, strength and conditioning coach, he's the guy that you task to say, okay, you need to make this guy stronger in the run blocking scheme. So he's got to be able to stand up to that. So whatever strength that is, and I ain't going to be a person that is going to profess to say, oh man, I know exactly what you should do. You should work on blah, blah, blah. I ain't a workout person. And so I can't tell you that, but that's what Torrey Becton's job is, to strengthen him in the off season and get him ready. And then that becomes a Kyle Flood thing, where it's up to Kyle Flood in order to improve him and make him into a smarter, better player. Like, he's played a lot of years, right? So he should be a guy that understands and picks up concepts. But now if you can throw some new things at him, all of a sudden it's different. So now we have the conversation. Let me see if he put this in here. All right, let me see if this is updated. Perfect. Okay, so now, thank you, Tyler. Tyler, sometimes I give you a hard time, but this time I got no complaints. I appreciate you. Wanted to make sure my graphic was updated. So now if you just focus in on transferred in, the portion of it, and look, you guys can look at what's transferred out versus what's transferred in if you want to. You guys can do your comparisons to see what was lost and what was in. But now I'm just looking at, okay, so now you got Lawrence Seymour, a guy who has played significant times and significant reps and snaps, at multiple different schools, but most notably Western Kentucky, right? You've got Siani. And so now you say, okay, now you got two guys with playing experience. One with, P4, another one who, if I'm correct, I believe it was second team all conference, if I'm correct, last season. Let me see. I'm pretty sure I'm correct on that. But anyway, I won't slow down the show, but I'm pretty sure it was second team all conference USA. I'm pretty sure that's correct. So you got some guy who at least has experience. You got Jonte Newman, who was a high recruit at some point, and then he becomes kind of a project, a guy that you work towards. And then you got Dylan Sikorsky, who, now all of a sudden you got some guys to battle for this position. You've got Sikorsky to battle. You've got Seymour as a guy who can battle. And then that's before we get into any of the other guys who are already on campus. Some of the guys who I have mentioned before, but you've got the Coleman brothers who will be in the mix as well. And those are younger people. Those are Jordan and Devin, but heard lots of good things about them. And so what you like I said, when I started off, when I was saying like, hey, what they've got to do, they just got to throw bodies and bodies and bodies at that position. That's kind of what they're doing. And again, you don't need all of them to pop. You just need one. Two would be great. But if you just can get if you get one and you're starting five and that person stays healthy, then you're more than good to go. If you can get two, so now you kind of can get to like a 6 or a 7 for when injuries eventually occur, then all of a sudden you might have something here, right? So does it we're not putting lipstick on a pig. Okay. That's not necessarily what we're doing. And by the way, Buck Wild came in with a super chat. I just saw it, Buck Wild. Let me make sure I didn't miss any others. All right, Buck Wild. Let me get to your super chat here, by the way. Your offensive borderline was a D, if I remember correctly. Does this move it into a C- or better? Actually, Buck Wild, I'm glad you asked that because that's a hell of a time. Now look, over the next 2 days, I'm gonna really expand my transfer portal grades. I'm gonna probably do a show tomorrow talking about the offense, and then a show on Friday talking about the defense. I don't anticipate that we're not planning on having a prize pick show, so I should be live here on Thursday. But because you asked and because you put a $5 super chat in, I will tell you what this actually puts my grade at right now. And I should put them at a C+. Why? Because you've given me two guys who at least have playing experience, who have played at a high level, who've been productive at a high level, two guys who could be potential starters. And now I can't put it in the B- range because you didn't get enough of like star power for me. But right now, I've raised them up from a D to a C+. It's online with where I have my quarterback ranking as well, Buck Wild. So yes, I actually resubmitted Buck Wild my portal grades, and I feel pretty good. B-, C+. It's all numbers. It's all matter of the same right there. It's really, really close. So, but I like it. It's better than it was. It really was better than it was. B-, I need a little bit more. You give me another guy who's got playing experience at a place. And again, my A's are to Cam Coleman. That's an A+, right? My running backs, that's an A, right? So to get to that B- ish range, but we're close. We're close. We're as close as, and look, we're better today than we were yesterday. And damn it, we'll take that. Because golly, I don't want to keep doing those shows if this is how it's going to be, right? So anyway, all right, y'all, I got to get my kid to school. They have a late start for kids today. So I got to get my kid to school. Steph, hey, you need to shovel tell your man to come over here, tell you to come over here and shovel the rest of my driveway. No, my stuff is pretty much already done. So guys, be safe on that road. I had to go out this morning. There's still some ice out there. So y'all be safe. Go out there, have a fantastic day. And look, there's going to be more about this on the noon show. We'll see. Like yesterday we did a show, and then a few hours later, Texas had somebody. So hopefully they'll keep that trend going. We'll see who else they can pick up. Until then, remember I always say, live each day like it's your last. One day it will be. So go